Well, hey everybody, welcome back. We are going to continue on with project 18 here. If you recall from the other day, it is the 90-degree T or Y branch. They call it the Y branch here, I call it the T branch, but it is a Y configuration of a sort there. This part is already made here with your dimensions. Now today we are going to focus on the heel in the throat. So if we set it up here, on the top area here, we've got the heel area and we've got the throat area to fabricate. So first things first, we got to determine the dimensions, the length, and the width of the part. And like normal, the throat's going to be too short to fit through the lock form machine by itself, so we'll have to attach this piece onto the end of this one out here and then separate them after that. So here we go. Let's go into that and let's find our dimensions to start with here. This is bent already, so we're going to have to kind of work with a couple of things here. Some things that you can do is, take your seamers and set that up under there to hold that up out of the way. That helps a little bit, but not too big of a deal here. So just grab your wire or your string or whatever you got, and then figure out your dimension. Figure out our dimensions all the way around there. Okay, we're right there on that end. I don't know if you can see that, but right in there. So I'll pull my tape measure out. And we'll set that in right on the nearest foot mark here. And that dimension came right out to be 9 and about 1/8 on this one here. And then let's check the other, the throat for that distance. We'll use that with same wire method. We'll roll that around there. Measure that. And they were about 7 3/8. So that's our two dimensions. We got 9 1/8 and 7 3/8. I'll set the wire off to the side there. The next thing we want to do, and you can refer to your plans for this if you like too, but we got to determine the width of that part, and the duct is going to end up to be 8 inches, and then our lock former take-ups here in the shop are going to be 7/8 on both sides there. Most, again, are that 1 inch, but ours are 7/8. So if I got 8 inches and 7/8 and 7/8, that comes up to a part that's 9 3/4 is what the dimension should be there. So I've already cut that 16.5 inches here by 9 3/4. That's ready to go. So let's go ahead and start laying out our marks for the lock form. We need the 7/8 mark down both sides here. So go right to my scribe, find the 7/8 take-up dimension there, and we'll run that down both edges. Okay. At that point in time, what we can do is we can measure the straight section. If you look at the heel pattern here, what we're building the heel and the throat, but in the heel pattern we've got a straight section and then we've got a rolled section on there. So that'll match the straight section with a bend and a roll. We need to put a notch right where that bend is going to be in there, and that's what they're showing. On one side they just used simply a notcher, the other side they used an 1/8 inch slit. You can do the same, or you can choose which one is the preferred method for you. I don't really have a preference. I might just use the notch, but you could definitely cut it out to the 1/8 inch width there on that mark too. So let's figure that out next. So over here we're going to measure down, and it appears to be about 2 inches. Let's measure that out, that 2 1/8, right between the two, 2 1/16 maybe. And we'll put that on both sides. what I've got there is my 7/8, my 7/8, and then this notch is going to be right here, for that straight section of the duct, with the 1/2 inch being put on it later on. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to have a rolled area to take up this remaining distance there. So if I recall, when we measured that, it was 9 1/8 all the way from tip through the bend to the edge, 9 1/8 inches. So we're going to place that mark on our project as well, 9 1/8. And I'm just going to mark that. Right now. And then with my square, we'll square that across. Something like that. That later on should be the edge of my heel from with the bend. If we set that in there, I think I can show you this. The edge, the point of that heel should end up right at the point of our notch there. So that one's ready to go. We just got to notch each end out, get that run through the lock former and roll it, and we should be set. So let's do that now. On the ends, we got to notch the ends, and then where this other throat attached, we got to take out the chunks where they meet. So right here, we've got our ends, and then we'll do the end of the throat that's exposed for us. And then last but not least, we'll have to do this last part with the tin snips. Where the two sections meet, we still got to take out those little triangular pieces for the reliefs that we need. We'll mark them with our scratch awl here on both sides. And then take out our little edges there. Do the same over here. And then with my tin snips, we'll cut them out. And do the same on the other side. Don't forget the reliefs on the corners here. Take those last sections out of there. Okay, now that part of it is complete. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to run it over to the lock former, and we're going to run the lock former on each side, and then we'll separate the two parts from one another so we can put our bend on it and a roll, preferably the roll first and on each of these. So here we go. Okay, here we are at the lock form machine. Let's go ahead and put the lock form on the heel and the throat pattern now. Okay, there they are. Now we got to separate. We've got our heel on this side, and with our throat, we're going to separate that with the shear. And there we've got our throat for our throat and our heel. Next we got to roll them. Okay, we're back over here by our rolls now. We've got our throat and our heel in front of me, along with the fitting itself. So the first thing we got to do is we got to determine which direction we need to roll these. So if we look at this part, we're going to have it bent here on the edges up to a 90, and then we're going to roll this in this direction. So that means we got to flip it over and roll it into this point till about this section right here. So let's go ahead and do that next. We'll slip that in there. And if you notice, they're not very tight at this point in time. Okay, so we just got to work that through, tighten them evenly on the back until we start getting the curvature that we want. Okay, that's starting to match up pretty nice. So let's go ahead and put the bend on it now, and if we need to touch that up some more, we'll do that as well. So over here on my brake, we're going to slip the flat edge into the bending area there. Lock that down according to its needs. Getting it on the marks, and we'll pull that up to a 90 degree. And it appears that we've got to bend it just a little bit tighter yet, so we're going to overbend our 90. Alright, that's pretty well ready to go. Again, it may be beneficial for you to slip a piece of metal in there to stretch that groove out, but I didn't think it was going to be too big of an issue on this one, but it might help you out a little bit later on. So there's our heel ready to go, and the next thing we want to do is the throat. So I'm going to flip the project over and again determine which direction it's got to be bent. This time we've got to have this to the bottom side, and we've got to roll it this direction. So we're getting our curve going the right direction, and we'll get it started again, and then we'll tighten it up some more until we are comfortable with that curvature. Alright, I think we're set and ready to go. Okay, back here at the bench then, I've got my heel and my throat laid in place, and that's all I'm going to cover on this particular segment of the video. You'll have to look for part 3 to find the assembly. So thanks for watching. I hope this helps.